right, welcome everybody to November 10th Ortelius architecture meeting. The main thing that I want to go over is where we stand on some of the issues for the blockchain, and then also on the CLI tutorial portion as well. Actually, let me start with the CLI tutorial. Let me try sharing my screen. Okay. It's hard because I'm on my laptop screen instead of. Documentation. So one of the things that we've been working on, Tracy's been heading this up, is on the first steps of what you on the integration point. So for some reason, Zoom's always in the way. I think this is the one. No. May not be public. Here we go. So this isn't the latest version. I got to push it out. Looks like Argo isn't running correctly. So but basically what we've done is we've set up a simple step-by-step process of how to get up and going with the integrating into your pipeline process. So with this information, we'll be able to gather everything that we need to take the information from the CI portion and the CD portion and push it into Ortelius. So that documentation is going to be out there. What we'll need to do is to have folks test it and then make sure that we clean up anything that isn't clear. And then also we will, once we're happy with it at that point, then we'll go ahead and do a video tutorial around it. So I will make sure that the cluster has the latest version out there of the documentation to work from. So the goal on that front is to kind of help ease the onboarding portion. So Sasha, I know you wanted to kind of look at that for one of your talks at your company coming up. So that documentation will be out there for you to kind of follow along with. And we did not put into the documentation anything specific to say, like, this is how you do it, Jenkins, this is how you do it with GitHub Actions on that front. We try to leave it a little more generic. If we do need to add, tool specific pieces, if it makes more sense to make it easier to follow, just create an issue and we'll go ahead and address it. So just create an issue so we don't forget about it. The other portion that we have is, let's take a look where we're at with our blockchain pieces. Any questions on that front?
Just one. So is it usable? I mean, it's usable, right? As it is at the moment.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, the documentation is one iteration back on the website. So I'll bump that version when we get done here to make sure the latest version is out there.
Okay, cool.
Utkarsh, do you have any questions on that?
I was just thinking, so like for the few of the organization there, they have like CD part separate with the CI part, right? So, but you said like this will require like all the CD and CI information for onboarding your application, Ortelius, right?
Right. So what we want to do, so it's basically two steps. The first step is the CI integration, which we are able to derive a bunch of metrics and information from the Git repo at that level. So that's like and that's also where you kind of like register your new component version at that point when it's created. Also in the example, we associate the component version with an application version. So we have those dependency relationships created. So that's like the first step is the information gathering phase. Also, we included SIFT for the SBOM at that level. So you get a nice, full picture of all your dependencies for your Docker image, for example, at that level. The second portion is when you do a deployment, we want to record what was deployed where. So, and this is a little bit harder to do without a pipeline tool. So we needed to kind of figure out how we want to take people down that journey. But basically what happens is you just say, all right, I just deployed this service over to this cluster. When completed, I'm going to record that it went to this environment inside of Ortelius. So it's more of a logging step that we put in as part of that. And the stuff that Brad's been working on, I think, Utkarsh, you're doing some of it around the I think it was the Argo notifier that we may need to expand an endpoint on the Ortelius side to capture that notification coming from like an Argo CD that a deployment was completed. But that's kind of like secondary. The main thing we need to look at is just testing out the primary piece, which is the CI integration right now. Does that help put it into context?
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
Cool. All right, so over to blockchain. So on the blockchain piece, I've been traveling the last 2 weeks, so I haven't been able to really keep things moving along. But let me filter by that. I did meet with, just before this meeting, I think his name is Nikita. He is from Ukraine, and he works with doing UX UI design. So I talked to him about how we can leverage his talents for designing out how we can visualize the blockchain at that level. So I have on my to-do list is to create a couple more issues around possibilities of some thoughts on creating a UX, extending our UX to make it more easier to navigate. Because I think with the blockchain piece and the ledger, we're going to have more information that's going to be persisted over time. So we'll need to do like a time scale of a component and some things like that around the visualization of the data. On the back end side, some of the things that we need to kind of look at is, it looks like everybody for Hacktoberfest got their pieces in place around the NFT storage of the data from the SBOM. So the next thing we need to do is to kind of normalize the data. So this is the one where we need to kind of take a look at the the SBOM and transform it. So like we were talking about the licenses, for example, that licenses piece of the blockchain needs to be transformed. So we then, instead of pointing to the license itself, it points to the NFT. I mean the SID that's out on the NFT storage. So that was one of those things that we need to follow up with. And I think that's going to be one of the next steps that we need to accomplish, is to get this transformation in place. And I can't remember who's Perfect Believer. Anybody remember? Okay.
It's Devendra.
It's who?
Devendra.
Okay. So we'll have to follow up with him to see where he's at on this. What we'll need to do is, now that we have the NFT storage kind of figured out, what we should be able to do is take an SBOM, transform it so we can have it kind of, minimized or compacted around the data, and then be able to take that, push it into the NFT storage, and then the test result will be able to pull it back out and compare that we got the same results at that level. So those will be the next steps that we have. Now, the same thing we'll need to do for component versions and application versions, start building out the NFT pieces for that. I will add those issues so we can start working on how we need to transform those pieces as well. And then from there, I think that's going to be, once we get those three pieces in place, we should be pretty good to go to start adding into the blockchain our transactions. Because what we want to make sure is that we have clean data going into NFT storage before we start adding garbage into the blockchain on that front. Does that sound like a reasonable approach?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to be in California through the end of the week, and I'll start working on those issues. I'll create issues around the UX UI front, also extending the JSON transformation to include component versions, application versions, and then I'll try to get a hold of Devidon and see where he's at on the transformation piece that he was working on. The other piece is another person's working on loading in I think it was the licenses. Let me go back to the issues.
Yes. SPDX license list.
Yeah. So we have the license, and also I don't know if it's on here. Let me see. I'm not sure.
529.
Right. And then we had another one to load in. Here it is. Let me tag it with it is 496 that we need to also do the load into the Orango DB portion, the CVE database. And I think there was Utkarsh, you did some work on the Orango DB, right?
Yep. So there is a story regarding a POC.
Okay. Do you know what the issue number is for that one?
1 second.
I just want to make sure.
This is 515.
Okay.
I think Joseph also did some work. on
Right.
this.
Okay, perfect. So it's tagged correctly. All right. Yeah, so that one we may want to it kind of goes with 530 as well, on how we can start indexing the issues. So 530 is kind of flipping the data upside down. So what my thought process was, we'd add in some of the key, basically create like a key, an index based on portions of the SBOM that we want to search, as well as some of the data from the component version, application version that we want to search. Add that into a Rango that would then allow us to go ahead and point over to the blockchain and the NFTs. That's going to be a one that we got to really think through to make sure we can navigate the data correctly. We'll always have the data that persisted inside of the blockchain, but we don't want to linear search the blockchain when we go look for data. All right, cool. So those are the kind of like the next steps that I kind of see a week or two around what we need to do for the blockchain piece. Is there anything that I'm missing that we may need to include on that?
I think that is it for now.
Okay. So in the next 2 weeks, it'd be great if we can target a lot of this for next week to keep things moving. But we have the Ortelius CLI CI/CD testing to do, the wrap up the NFT storage, and then expand into the Rango DB realm. So those are like the 3 high level pieces, and then also I'll create the issues around the UX UI portion to make sure that we're starting to do that design and get things moving on that front. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in the next week that we need to tackle. 2 weeks max. That work for everybody? Thumbs up.
Fine with me.
It's like a
I think-
plan.
I
All
think
right.
Utkarsh is the one. He's probably doing most of it.
Cool. And then Sasha, just a side note, I've been working on the Helm charts and the GitHub actions for creating the Helm charts.
Oh, cool.
So one of the things I did was just to simplify our whole lives. I removed the Google Cloud build and moved over to just GitHub actions for our microservices.
Oh, cool.
And just to kind of consolidate what we have going on. We have too many pieces floating around. And I'm working on the main Helm chart that has the subcharts in it.
Oh, cool.
I'm taking what Ben did down in Australia. He wrote a simple Node.js program to grab all the charts from all the repos and smash them into one big one.
Yeah.
That wasn't, it wasn't working 100% on the way we need to have the repository to create the charts in the right format. So that's why you're running into issues.
I tried using that file as in Terraform, but I told Terraform to read that file and it still didn't accept it.
Yeah, because what was happening is that program was reading in every single chart in every single version of every single chart into one big massive chart.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
it was confusing. It was confusing Helm on that front.
Oh, that makes sense.
So what we need to do is what I'm making the change to do is we create a parent-child chart at that level, and then once we have that version of that chart the way we want it to look, so basically you can think of it as a snapshot of the application version at that point in time. That chart then gets saved, and then we run the Helm indexer to create the correct index.yaml from that guy. So
that makes sense.
the steps were there; they're just out of order, and that's what I'm working
Yeah.
on getting cleaned up.
Okay, thanks, man. Like,
So
I don't mind even having to add each Helm chart individually into the Terraform, because once it's done, right?
yeah,
Uh,
this is going to work a lot better on that front, and then we can add in automation to say if a microservice is updated, go and notify,
yeah.
run another workflow across repos and things like that.
And I'm actually finding Terraform very flexible with this stuff. I know Brad is maybe not so into it, but I'm finding it super flexible.
Yeah.
I just see it as a wrapper. It's like a framework for IAC. That's all it is. And you can chuck anything in there. I'm running bash scripts, I'm running YAML files, and it works.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
And then because I think let me know when you're at a point that we need to create the Ortelius in the box repo on our side.
yeah. I can't wait to push it into Ortelius side. The only thing I'm working on now is Istio. And then I've got Argo and Captain running. They run. I want to get Istio running so that you can just hit the cluster from your browser without having to do port forwarding and stuff. Right. So I had to go and learn about Istio, which I learned about Istio. Now I know how Istio works I'm not an expert, but I know how it works.
Right. Yeah, because right now and this is something that I'll need to work with you on the Terraform side, is how we pass in, like when you run a Helm deploy, you can give it a long string of parameters at the command line, or Helm upgrade. You can give it a parameters. I'm assuming those parameters are pushed into Terraform, correct?
Yeah, we can do anything with Terraform, really. We can do anything. If Terraform doesn't support it, it supports bash scripts. You just use a bash script, right? Or you don't even have to use a bash script. You can actually put your scripting in your Terraform. It's called a local exec provider.
Okay.
Like I'm just doing cool stuff with that, and it's amazing, man. We can definitely use Terraform.
Okay, cool. Because there's things like we have to generate some the JWT public-private keys, and there's a couple other settings that we need to do to make sure, depending on what cluster you're running on, if you're running on kind, like a local dev environment versus GKE or AWS, and if you have load balancers and things like that. So
we can do all of that on our locals. Seriously, we can do all of that.
Cool.
We can do anything, really.
Right.
It's like you are the cloud.
Yeah, perfect. So
and Terraform's free, right? The language is free, and it's agnostic to the cloud. That's what's great. So you can go to any cloud. You could even deploy this in the cloud if you want.
Perfect. Because I think that'll be a perfect next step to getting people up and going real easy.
Yeah, and we can use, if we want to go to the cloud, all we use is modules, and we just consume, instead of repeating the code, we use modules that different environments can consume that same module. So that's how you can do that. Yeah, we can do rad stuff there. We can make it so easy for people to get up and running. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I will try to get those Helm charts, that the main Helm charts sorted out this week. I'm getting close, but
cool. Thanks, Steve.
Definitely early next week we should have something for you to test with, Sasha.
Oh, awesome, man, awesome.
We may need. You had some tool to run multiple the same command in multiple repos.
Yeah, I've got something for you.
So what we may need to do is
to clone and do all that kind of stuff and add. Yeah. I'll send it to you. You can do anything. Yeah, it wraps Git. It's a Git wrapper.
Okay.
So whatever you can do in Git, it just wraps whatever Git does and just spawns it to whatever you want to do.
Okay, cool. Because I may need to clean up the GitHub pages branch of all the repos.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Right.
because there's a bunch of garbage out there that I'm afraid that may get pulled across at that level.
Cool. I'll send it to you.
All right, cool. Drop it in Discord for me.
I will, yeah.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I will update if nobody's been taking notes, I will go back and update the document, our architecture document. I just can't do it on this little screen and talk to you guys at the same time. So, all right.
Cool. Thanks, Steve.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Thanks,
Cheers, Tony.
everyone.
Cheers, Akash.
Cheers.
Cheers, Alvin.